right to you, New Orleans Saints fans, and congratulations, your Saints have brought themselves back to forward for 500. They've won, Atlanta Falcons lose, and the Pelicans start off 2-0. If this weekend get any better, I don't know how. Pinch me, I'm living in Louisiana sports heaven right now. Now, I will go ahead and preface, was this game perfect? No, but there's so much to talk about from this game that moved in the direction you need this team to move in on. So we're going to cover it and, of course, get your opinions out there in Who Dat Nation because, well, y'all the entire reason that we do this. Like, we love you. We appreciate you. At least I do. Can't speak for everybody. I have to speak for myself. Starting off with our quarter-by-quarter breakdowns. But before we do that, shout out to those who are here with us live. 992 Ras, AJ, Brian W. II, Kamani, good to see you. Disturbed, Saints Garcia, Matthias, Braun, Troy Jefferson, Rudy Rock, Raheem Guillon, Ahmad Collins, Matt Slay, Dark Vader, Lester, Who Dat, Mr. John, everybody else. Welcome to a Saints win edition of the Who Dat Confessional podcast. Now, getting it started, I really liked what we saw early on from this team, and we don't say that very often. So I'm going to say it with happiness in my voice right now. Now, let's go and talk about what made it so good. We're going to change your view just a little bit, and we're going to go to my Twitter page. We're going to try our quarter-by-quarter breakdown just a little bit different this time around because I want you to see some of these numbers, right? I want you to see some of this right here. Look at this. Is it not just beautiful? That's efficient, effective offense, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're looking at right there. That is great. Derek Carr was 5 for 7 with a touchdown. Oh, my gosh, no interceptions. Look at that. Michael Thomas with 48 yards. Moving into the defensive side, Demario Davis leading. And by the way, Jordan Howden having a solid campaign here for the Rook. One negative to take away from the first quarter, losing time possession. Need to see them start winning that battle. Had to see that improve. But they were 1 for 1 in the red zone. Even though the defense started off kind of sluggish and slow, as you can see in my notes at the top right of your screen, they did do enough to win. Let's move over to the first half notes where, again, we have more of the same to a degree. Derek Carr ends the first half 9 for 12 with 2 touchdowns, 174 yards, 75%. Oh, my gosh. Derek Carr, Pete Carmichael had a great game. Woo! Who knew it was possible? Also really appreciate this because the Saints ran the ball 13 times in the first half, but Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kendre Miller were not finding a lot of success or running room. But credit to Pete Carmichael and this offense, they did not abandon it, and they got right back to it in the third quarter. I think that was pivotal and part of their success. The huge Rasheed Shahed TD pass, 58 yards. What a cannon, what a shot. Great job, Derek Carr, connecting on that. And again, thank you, Pete Carmichael, for attacking the middle of the field. You had a quarters concept in the Rasheed Shahed one. You attack with that deep post, little skinny post, touchdown. First touchdown of the game was a Texas concept, angle route by Alvin Kamara out of the backfield into the middle. Touchdown. Attacking the middle of the field does good things. We love to absolutely see it. Moving on some of the other notes defensively, again, Demario Davis leading him. 2 important pass deflections in that second quarter by Paulson Debo, who would also come in with an interception. That was huge momentum shifter. And then, again, only real negatives. Defense not performing to the standard you were used to. They were giving up 50% of third downs converted, and 2 for 3 the Colts were in the red zone. But you came in with the lead at half, albeit a very, very close one. Moving on to the third half stats and how things looked. Again, Derek Carr maintained his efficiency, 72.7%, 245 yards, those same 2Ds. But look at the running game. And this is why I was so happy that they stuck with it. They did not let themselves become one-dimensional. Taysom Hill, still running well. Alvin Kamara, better. Jamal Williams, doing better. Kendre Miller, real critical 7-yard run where thought that he was going to get stopped in the background. So improvement, especially on the left side. Shout out to Andres Pete, who has been performing arguably as the best left tackle in 2023 for the New Orleans Saints. There's been 3 of them, and Andres Pete's been the best one. I really don't know how to feel or say or do. But damn it, Andres Pete, thank you. I lift my glass to you, Andres Pete. Thank you, Andres Pete. Michael Thomas, 4 receptions for 68 yards through the first 3 quarters. only real negative I have about Thomas, he has a critical slant for a third down that he drops, even if it's a little bit behind him. You're used to him reeling those in. But, whew, what a day to be alive. Moving over to the defensive side, this is another big thing for me, and we've eventually got to start talking how the Saints can add to this pass rush because, as you can see, through 3 quarters, no sacks. Now, you do get 2 critical ones in the 4th. That's obviously a big deal. We appreciate that, Carr Granderson and Shepard, shout out to you. And you did have Isaiah Foskey. Yes! Foskey the rookie, Foskey the man, the legend. Almost forced a fumble that turned into a touchdown. Ended up being an incomplete pass, but damn it, it was nice to see him on the screen in a positive way. Yes! That's growth, baby. Growth. It's like a plant in spring. It's beautiful. And then also moving into the final 3rd quarter stats, the defense did a little bit better, but not great. Saints offense was 2 for 2 in the red zone, 4 for 8. Now, one thing that started creeping in, penalties. Because you'll notice the Saints had 4 penalties through 3 quarters. Just 4. Not too terrible. But what ended up happening? Oh, no. That turned into more. So let's go back to our in-game stats here and cover everything. Look at the team stats. 8 penalties, 4 false starts on the offense. It really almost for half a split second was like, please don't give this away. Please don't give this away. But, hey, we held on. And I think it's justified to have those concerns right now. If you're a Saints fan, you've watched some crazy things so far this year. But you're right, Red. I will take the positive. I will give a shout out to Anders Pete. And I will sit here and go, I don't understand this year. This is a topsy-turvy team. But if they can continue to build off stuff like today, it makes me believe, because I'm always hesitant when a guy like Derek Carr or anybody tries to come in and say, hey, I talked to the team. We're all good now. We communicated. That actually has to translate on the field. We saw a much crisper offense team, and hopefully this moves on. And I'll be very clear. This Indianapolis Colts team is not a great defense, but they were ranked 21st in points allowed. Well, let me go ahead and let you know. Ranking 21st in points allowed does not mean you average giving up 38. So the Saints offense still overperformed their expectation there. And the Indianapolis Colts offense came into this game ranked 6th in the NFL in points forced. And they scored 27, but you won the game, right? You almost had a 40-burger. I really wanted Pete Carmichael to punch in a touchdown that last drive, but I'll take the field goal by Blake Grupe. So one thing that we'll continue to discuss, which is going into the comments there from y'all, but this is a very good performance overall. There are some issues. The penalties are an issue. The pass rush not having the oomph and earliness success is concerning and an issue. And the offensive line still has questions. And we'll talk this Tuesday about potential, we'll be past the trade deadline, but we'll be like, hey, what can they do? What do you see? We'll see if the Saints make a move. I mean, I know that you've seen, I don't know if y'all have seen, Chase Young is apparently up and ready to go. Wow, Chase Young, guy was first-round draft pick, potentially on the block. Could the Saints go after it? And I do want to be very clear, I'm not talking about Carl Granderson, because Carl Granderson is on pace for double-digit sacks. He secured the bag, and he's still doing well. So shout out Granderson. But Cameron Jordan, I love you. It's clear that you are not elite as a pass rusher anymore, even if you are still effective. We've got to find ways to start getting this defensive line to be top 5 like the defense is. Because even though I do stand that this defense is top 5, top 10 maybe in the past few weeks, a little bit rough, it is not on the D-line. They got to improve. But a win is a win is a win. Oh, by the way, did I tell you my Pellies are 2-0? Y'all can't tell me right now. You can't tell me now. Woo! What a day. What a time for Louisiana football and basketball, professional. Anyway, Mr. Don says Cam Jordan needs to be a part-time player. Other guys need to step up. The truth is, though, Don, is nobody's doing that yet, right? You hope to have Peyton Turner have that opportunity, but he's been injured. Isaiah Foskey, who did come in and have a pass deflection in this one, well, he needs development. So you only really have Carl Granderson because as much as I love Tano Passignon, he's a rotational depth guy. He is not a guy that you're going to use in a consistent role. And, if you look, the Saints NASCAR package has basically been Passignon, Granderson, Brzee, which is a DT, and Jordan. They don't even have a full NASCAR package. So they have to address this at some point. And to the point that I honestly, if you can get Chase Young for cheap, I would throw a flyer at Chase Young and use him as a pass rush specialist. Don't expect him to be the full down starter, but the Saints do need to get a little bit of infusion. It's very rare that I go, hey, trade deadline, let's make it happen. What's a NASCAR package? Disturb, happy to explain. So a NASCAR package in defense is referred to as a pure pass rush package. Generally, it hasn't always been this way for New Orleans, but generally a NASCAR package is a defensive line set made up of 4 defensive ends, basically all pass rushers. So you're not focusing on stopping the run. You don't have a nose tackle in. You don't have your strong side power defensive end in unless he's also good at pass rushing. Your NASCAR package is something that you're going to bring in, especially on like 3rd and longs. That is nothing but pure pass rushers, typically all defensive ends is what it's been historically. Now, the New Orleans Saints, if they have a very good defensive tackle 3-tech, like when they were Sheldon Rankins, they'll do it that way. But if you ever hear somebody talking about, hey, they're setting up their NASCAR package or they're utilizing it, that's what they're referring to along the defensive line. So, whew, what a different emotional roller coaster from the other day with that loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is what you had to have. Also, real quick, we're going to take a brief moment to celebrate this. Tennessee Titans defeating the Atlanta Falcons 28-23. So, by the way, if you're curious where the standings currently are, the Saints are 2nd in the division at 4-4, tied with Atlanta. If you're curious why, because the Saints have lost more conference games than Atlanta. Atlanta is 3-2 inside the conference. New Orleans is 1-2. So we talked about that in recent weeks, how that could be something that is an issue potentially moving forward. We'll see. But overall, W's. We win. Yes. That's all you got to do. Just win. Focus on you. Worry about the other stuff as it happens. Don't worry about it too much. Just get the wins. That's all you really need to do. Now, 2 says you don't use NASCAR on 3rd and short. Typically, you don't. You're right. Typically, you don't because you worry about draw plays. A NASCAR package is something that you're going to go in to try to pin your ears back and make things happen. But let's talk about 3 stars. We haven't had many opportunities this season to talk about stars of the game. But honestly, Derek Carr deserves to get a star of the game. Paulson Adebo deserves a star of the game. And Rasheed Shahed deserves a star of the game. Now, you can give it to a lot of guys. Taysom Hill, I think, deserves it. I think there are Pete Carmichael fans out there that are just ready to wring my neck over some of the things I've said about him in the past. But, a win is a win is a win. And that had to be my 3 stars with other names that can be thrown in there. But with Atlanta losing, the Pelicans winning, and the Saints winning, man, I'm just on cloud 9. What a fantastic time, Hoodad Nation. Alex says Shepard and Saunders got stout fast after getting gashed early. I do think that the New Orleans Saints did a good job to adjust to some of the things that the Colts were running to. And I've said this before, like sorry, I clicked on the wrong game for y'all. The thing with Dennis Allen's defenses have always been not that necessarily the Saints with Dennis Allen are the best defense in turnovers or the best defense in sacks, but what they are is they arguably, and chat, feel free to chime in on this, arguably what the Saints defense is best at in the league is in-game adjustments. Dennis Allen is a master at his craft, making adjustments in-game and then finding what's working and really planting in on that. And every now and then he'll do things that annoy me, like prevent defense, and a lot of guys do that. But one thing that they do so well is in-game adjustments, and you see that because up through about the first quarter and a half, the Colts could do almost whatever they wanted, right? If you want to go back to the numbers that we were talking about before, I posted them on the Twitter page. Look at the first half numbers overall of the Indianapolis Colts. They were simply doing well. Here's what they ended up being, by the way. They had 212 total yards through the first half. How did they end the game? Well, from over here, take a look, 371. And that's with them getting some big garbage yards at the very end. They clamped down. The Saints defense made adjustments, and they did give up a lot. They had to bend quite a bit before they finally got stout. But if you look, that first quarter and a half after that, you have 2 scoring drives for the Indianapolis Colts, a field goal by Gay, 42-yarder, and then, and I'll give Gardner Minshew this, an absolutely amazing pass to Alec Ogletree from 33 yards out that made this game get a little bit closer. But when the Saints had built a 35-20 lead, you really felt they kind of had this one in hand. Thankfully, they managed to keep it. And Gerald, you always know I'm going to take an opportunity to be petty against the Atlanta Falcons. Always. Nikki DeFish says, I'm not worried about the defense. I'm just glad to see some execution and play calling adjustments from the offense. I really am tempted to make a t-shirt for our merch store to not only support the channel, but also just to talk about, just have one just plastered, says attack the middle of the field. Attack the middle, because it works. You saw it work today. Look, Rasheed Shahed, if y'all haven't noticed, by the way, Rasheed Shahed, after today's performance, is right under 500 yards. He's on pace for a 1,000-yard season. He leads the team in touchdown receptions. And while you might have that sophomore slump of Chris Olave, Rasheed, the speed demon, Shahed, needs no introduction to this. He's damn good. By the way, fun fact, if you didn't know, I want to give credit to this because we don't talk about it enough. He had 11.5 yards per return on punt returns today. He's actually second in the NFL in punt return yardage, while also leading the receivers in touchdowns. And he's right up there with Chris Olave with the yardage totals. So Rasheed Shahed does not have the level of route variance that Chris Olave does, but he's certainly playing at a more consistent, elevated level right now. And you've certainly got to be excited when you see that as a Saints fan. Rasheed Shahed is stepping up. We talk about if somebody's not playing to the level that you need them to, like a Chris Olave, somebody's got to step up, and Rasheed Shahed is doing that. And I'd argue Michael Thomas is. Michael Thomas is still not Michael Thomas of old, but you can't tell me that some of those critical first half plays and drives weren't because of Michael Thomas stepping up, and you absolutely love to see it. Love to see it. Now, this is the deep pass to Shahed into the game. When you average 16 miles per hour as an average for a pass, it's crazy. The only thing is getting consistent with that, right? Like Taysom underthrew it a little bit. Rasheed made a great adjustment to get to it and came down, and they gave that to New Orleans. And then you had 2 times Derek Carr hit him in stride, which was great to see Derek Carr unleash. Saw Derek Carr hit twice. By the way, if you missed this announced on the broadcast, Rasheed Shahed is now only the 3rd Saints receiver ever to have 150 yards over 3 catches, all of them being 50-yard pluses. Eric Martin in the end of the 80s and Poole in the end of the 90s. So he is the 3rd Saints receiver to pull off what you saw him do today. Absolutely fantastic to give some love and see that. King BB says we need pass rush, still not enough. I do agree, King, that is an area that we feel a little bit lacking. And normally I don't say that a team should do something like try to make a move when it comes to the trade deadline. But honestly, this just might be one of those times where we need to make some type of look, some type of adjustment, do something to make that happen, because that clearly is not going to cut it where this team is struggling to rush the passer. Now, credit to Carl Granderson, because Carl Granderson is on pace for double-digit sacks, and he got another one today. And I do think that Granderson has been consistent. Granderson actually pulled in he's got 5.5 sacks now for the season. So I give him his flowers, right? I give him his dues. But you look at Cameron Jordan, as much as I love him, he's got technically 2 sacks, but they were both half sacks. So he's got 1 sack on the season. You know, you've got guys like Nate Shepard as 2, and that's kind of it. Like, that's the defensive line. Brian Brzee has 1.5. Nate Shepard has 2. Carl Granderson has 5.5. I mean, this is a defensive line that is not doing enough, but I'm not going to be too critical because we got a win, and that's all I care about. Now, DW says, should we head into the bye week, week 11, 6-4, with Kurt going down? A win versus Atlanta after the Bud puts us 7-4. No need to panic. Definitely no need to panic right now. Not saying and not predicting the New Orleans Saints are going to dominate. I'm not. But as you just brought up, sadly for Kirk Cousins, he did tear there's a fear that he tore his Achilles against Green Bay. That was probably going to be a tough matchup for the Saints. You know, the Saints' schedule has always been one that is set for them and primed for them to be a successful team. That has stayed the same, right? The schedule's always been there for them. But the key is they're actually executing now, and that is hopefully going to be a consistent theme. And for the first time in weeks, y'all, I am so excited to do the Saints film room. I can't wait to pop in the tape, hopefully later tonight, and see some greatness. Now, the key is, who do y'all want me to talk about? Y'all going to need to let me know in the Discord and on Twitter who you want me to talk about. But there's so much good film to be had today. I'm in a good mood, y'all. I'm in a great mood. So, shout out to everybody who is here. Rudy Rock says, love the Saints stayed aggressive throughout the game, even when they had a 2-touchdown lead. Often they go conservative. Fantastic point, Rudy Rock. If you go to the scoring, look here. Taysom Hill, 1-yard run. We still making drives here after that. Kamara, 28-20, 35-20. Didn't take the foot off the gas. Still, we're trying to move down the field. Really love how New Orleans is trying to make that happen. Gerald says, if we kick Cam with Brzee on 3rd and long, who would like to run that end arc in Cam's spot? That's the thing, Gerald. I don't think there is anybody. I think if the New Orleans Saints are going to make any type of move at a trade deadline, it has to be a pass rusher. And I'm not trying to be just mean to anybody, but Peyton Turner's injured. Foskey has not shown consistency yet. You need to get somebody else. I don't think New Orleans Saints have anybody on that defensive line who's going to provide that right now, and it's something that needs to change. Francisco says the Saints need to work on their first down offense. Every first down, 0 to 1 yards is unacceptable, and we're going to lose games. Please fix it, but I'm happy they won. Who dat, Francisco? Who dat to you? Glad that you are here. I would say that this game, again, not perfect, but you definitely take the results, and you're happy with the results. Francisco says Foskey forced turnover. Sadly not. They did call that one back. But you are right. That was his first kind of flash play of the year. But in terms of consistency, he's not shown it. It's certainly not been there on tape. But he is growing. I just don't think that there is anything right now that the New Orleans Saints have where they can really kind of move Cam inside. Cam is playing at the rate that he's playing right now. He's the best player at his position for the Saints. And that means that the Saints probably need to start looking somewhere. Now, and I'm not saying that Foskey can't grow into something. I'm not trying to sell others short, but Tano Passignon has always been just a solid rotational guy. He's never going to pop up and be that. Nate Shepard was always meant to be a 3-tech who's kind of like right ahead of Brzee, so he's not going to be on the outside. Foskey, rookie, got to grow. New Orleans simply have to make it work, and maybe you make some type of move to facilitate that. Even if it's just a rotational pass rusher, the Chase Young conversation going to be pretty big, right? I think that is going to be pretty big. Who ends up with Chase Young, if anybody? And if they are selling him, how much is the cost for Chase Young? What is it going to take to get Chase Young? And I do think that he could contribute to this team. I don't think that Chase Young is the guy who's lived up to the potential. And for those who aren't familiar with Chase Young, he was a first-round draft pick by the Washington I think they were the Washington football team is what they were called back then. But rookie year, he was defensive rookie of the year. Came out on fire, and then he's had issues with health, things like that. And this is his 4th season. He's just kind of meh. I think he's still solid, though, and he's better than what we have a lot here in New Orleans right now. If he's available, you're basically getting a 1-year rental because you can't get a contract on him, right? I mean, I guess you can. You're the New Orleans Saints, but you always find a way with a contract. But I'm just saying, gives you potential. It would also lock you in, though, as in you would have to either give up a pick and basically have a guy for half a season, maybe playoffs, or you're going to have to give him the big contract that he's probably going to want. So Noam says we got the win, but I still feel like coaching ain't it. I say that a singular win or a singular loss can convince you of anything. And that means that I'm not convinced that this offense has found it all, but I can tell you that this offense found it today. And hopefully that continues. But the key is the Saints are 4-4. They're 500. They're going in next week. If those of you who don't remember what next week's game are, you have the Chicago Bears at home. They'll be playing the Bears at home. How do they perform against the Bears? Well, we'll see. We'll talk about that Thursday. But let's look at the schedule. Week 9, next week, Chicago Bears in New Orleans. Bears are a 2-5 team. If you lose that game, then you're really going to talk about New Orleans Saints not being it. You've got to win those games. I'm not trying to hate on the Bears, but they are not a good football team. They are a team finding themselves. Then after that, you got week 10, which is the Vikings. And as we just talked about, Kirk Cousins, looks like he tore his Achilles. He's not going to be there. So that is a winnable game. And then you've got the bye week before you jump in to those last 6 games of the season and try to find some consistent success. Mark says, I'm still not sold on Derek Carr at all. I'm sold on Derek Carr as long as Pete Carmichael is decent. But it depends on what you mean sold. Do I believe that Derek Carr is the quarterback of the future? No, I do not. But do I think that the Derek Carr team that you see today can win in the playoffs or at least get to the playoffs? I do. And a lot of that comes down to consistency in the play calling. And you saw a much better play calling game this week compared to last week and the week before. And I remember, we were at the point where Marcus Spears and random people were just calling out Pete Carmichael and his bad play calling, and you're seeing improvement. Do I think that Derek Carr is ever going to be a top 5 guy? No. But I do think that if the coaching system does well enough, this is a team that can win football games. That's kind of what you're hoping to find. Mr. John says a lot of fans don't realize how a game like this could potentially galvanize a team. Emotion and confidence is a huge part of winning. Momentum is a thing for a reason. I think it's big that it comes off after we've talked about the communication issues. So normally throughout the week, I didn't really care that Derek Carr did all the reach out, talk to everybody. I did not add it in as anything extra until it actually shows results. Well, it seemed to show results today. We'll see if that continues. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, no guarantees, but one game went well. Hopefully another game goes well. Hopefully. I'm trying to be hopeful. I'm trying to be positive because it's been topsy-turvy. Mark says, I mean like he's not playing what he got in his contract. I don't really think that he's not. He's okay. Derek Carr after today, here's what his numbers are. So again, I'm not arguing that Derek Carr's played well, but one argument that I've disagreed with all season is that people have made it out that this $150 million contract is a big contract. It's not. It's the 13th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He got paid a going rate of a mid-tier quarterback. He's got 8 TDs, 4 interceptions, right under 2,000 yards. Is he looking fantastic? No. But I don't think that he's the biggest issue, I guess. No one says if we continue being up and down all season, will that be enough to get DA fired? Probably not. Probably not. If things continue like this, like if they end up being 9-8, no, Dennis Allen's not going anywhere. Dennis Allen's going to stay right here if this team is 9-18. By the way, Noam, thank you for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Mark says, lucky for us, we're in a division where you can win if your winning percentage is below 500. I hope not. I'd like to have winning, but we'll see. Can you see Rasheed getting paid after the season? Well, if I remember, Rasheed Shahed is still RFA, but let's go double check. But I do think that Rasheed Shahed is clearly a player that this team needs to keep, right? I know he was a recent RFA. He actually might be a UFA now. Let's see. All right, so he's going to be an ERFA, which what that basically means is the New Orleans Saints have the best shot of keeping him. But do they commit to him long term? I think they should. I think they should commit to him long term. But he's an ERFA. So in terms of paying him, he's probably not going to get a big payday, but he's probably going to get a payday. I hope he does. He deserves it. I think he deserves it at this point. I think the man deserves it. Been playing well enough for me. Will we stuck with mediocrity forever? Look here, Noam. If we get to the playoffs, I'm going to be in a good mood. 500 team sucks. Even made the playoffs. Who can beat with this team? Oof. Hey, people have literally won Super Bowls. The goal is get to the playoffs. The New York Giants in the 2000s were never the best team in the NFL. They still won 2 Super Bowls. The best New Orleans Saints team has never won a Super Bowl. I would personally take the 2018 New Orleans Saints over the 2011 Saints any day of the week. And neither of them won a Super Bowl, and most people universally agree were better than the 2009 Saints. Just get in. Get to the dance. Get to the dance and trust in your players being good enough to win it for you. That's my hope. If everybody gets on the same page and clicks, you never know what's going to happen. You always play to win. Why wouldn't you want Sweat over Young? I don't think there's a reason to want one over the other except for price, right? The thing with Sweat's going to come down to price. Technically, there's 2 Sweats. Which Sweat do you want? But I think it comes down to price. I'll be honest. I think Young probably is a little bit cheaper just based on the durability and the performance, whereas I think Sweat's more expensive. Simple as that. Honest to God. Whether you're going Montez Sweat or Chase Young, either's an option. But I just think that Chase Young, a little bit cheaper, and you don't need a guy to be the full-time big guy. You just need somebody to be good enough, right? You need somebody to just add some flavor. And I think Chase Young can add some flavor. And I think, okay, so I understand injury history is scary, right? We don't like injury history. And he's had an ACL tear in 2021, talking about Chase Young. And then he had the groin strain in the beginning of his career. And then he had a stinger, I think, this year. So Chase Young has had injury. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, why do we want to trade for injury? That probably makes him a cheaper acquisition. He's only 24. And you would be adding him in as a rotational guy, not a guy that saw 100% of the snaps. So I just think that for New Orleans, it could be a better value. But we'll see if they end up making any type of moves. Any type of moves. Mr. Don says, Eli Manning was part of 2 Super Bowl teams. You'd take it if Carr can be like him. Yeah, I mean, Eli Manning was never a top 5 quarterback. Ever. Like, not close. Nobody ever had him top 5. Ever. Yet he won 2. So you can win with if everybody else is around you is good enough. Right? Now, B. Will says the injury. And again, that goes back to why I think Chase Young will be cheaper. Because Chase Young doesn't have a contract. So that means he's a half-year rental at most. I would say that if they offer Chase Young for a 4th-round pick, I'd jump on it. Hell, I'd throw a 3rd-round pick just for a half-year rental if I can work out an extension for him. So 4th round, 5th round pick, yeah, I would be Mickey Loomis calling, saying, hey, this team needs it. This team needs it. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to wrap up because we'll be back Tuesday right here. Celebrate your win, Saints fans. Celebrate your New Orleans Pelicans, who are 2-0. If you aren't excited about Pelicans basketball, well, I mean, we can still be friends, but I'm very excited. Pelicans starting off strong. They are 2-0. They are looking good. Shout out Willie Green. Offense looking crispy. You got Zion Williamson averaging 23, 24. You got Ingram contributing. You got Herb Jones out there. And Matt Ryan? You got to be a Pelicans fan to understand. But I love and appreciate y'all. Thank you for supporting the channel. We'll be here Tuesday. I need to know who y'all want to see in the Saints film room this week. Like the video before you head out. Saints film room. We're probably going to do offense and defense, one of each. Who dat? God bless. Love every single one of you. Appreciate every single one of you for supporting me and my 3 children. If you would like to do that, you can PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, or check out our merch. Bye. See you on the next one.